Have you seen Star Wars?
There's obviously been a lot of talk about your next chapter or steps, and I think you've said your piece about this pretty much, but
I'm not
just
retiring.
to clarify, okay.
I'm not retiring.
Yeah, not going anywhere.
So we just got a lot of Star Wars news this past weekend from Star Wars Celebration in Japan, but you know me, I like to focus on the big picture stuff over there at Lucasfilm and the future of the Star Wars brand, and that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. After the Mandalorian and Grogu panel where a new movie was revealed, Star Wars Starfighter, Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy went backstage and had an exclusive interview with ScreenRant, and this is what they say in the article. ScreenRant's Ash Crossan interviewed Kathleen Kennedy at Star Wars Celebration 2025. The Lucasfilm president talked Star Wars Starfighter, teased The Mandalorian and Grogu, and discussed how the streaming model has allowed Lucasfilm to tell new and exciting stories. ScreenRant spoke with Kathleen Kennedy shortly after the new footage of The Mandalorian and Grogu was shown. The much-hyped movie is set to drop at a time some perceive to be rocky for Star Wars after the divisive reception of recent projects like The Acolyte. I have to say, I'm feeling relieved to a certain extent, Kennedy said, because there's a lot of anticipation that we have to live up to. I think we certainly felt it in the room. People were really excited by what we were presenting. It's a good thing for Kennedy, who admitted during the interview that we've been working and talking for a long time about where Star Wars is going. She continued to say that the television streaming experience has offered us such a great opportunity to explore and experiment with new characters and storytelling. That's where The Mandalorian obviously came about, and then post Episode 9 and the sequel movies, and finishing what George had created. It's been such a huge challenge to figure out just exactly where we go. I think it's now really gaining momentum. We've got these great filmmakers involved, and we've got a real sense of what the future holds. The article says, clearly The Mandalorian and Grogu has helped Kennedy feel confident in the direction she had the other creatives are working with over there at Lucasfilm. If you ask Kennedy, and we did, Deadpool and Wolverine and Stranger Things director Shawn Levy is, and I quote, one of the perfect directors for Star Wars, and here's why, according to Kennedy. She says, he has that wonderful sense of humor and fun, and he loves Star Wars, and he's been dying to do this forever. I talked to him, as he mentioned, in 2022, but I actually talked to him even before that. He had gotten into Stranger Things, and that success took him off the market for a while, but he's been thinking about this story for quite some time and wanting to do something in the Star Wars universe, I think, his whole life. When it comes to the casting of Ryan Gosling, Kennedy said, Shawn started talking about Ryan from the very beginning. When he was developing this, he had Ryan in mind. Gosling's casting, according to the article, has also been heavily rumored even before the Star Wars Celebration announcement, and Kennedy says about rumors, basically. She says it's difficult. With Star Wars, it's really tough because everybody wants to know things, so rumors get out. It was funny to hear Shawn sort of tee that up with Ryan, because there are endless rumors. Some things are factual and some things are not. Really, the way we look at it is that we just don't respond to any of it. At the end of the day, we're only going to talk about the things that we know are real and not really spend time talking about speculation. That's pretty much how we handle it. And then the article says that the upcoming Star Wars slate feels slightly disjointed. That is, in some ways, both a bug and a feature of the Star Wars universe George Lucas created. Kennedy responded to that by saying, we never really developed this franchise around particular characters. It's a place, it's a galaxy far, far away, so there are endless stories that can be told. And then she goes on to say, you don't want to get so scattered that there's nothing to follow, but at the same time, we don't want to have every little thing connect either. We want to tell great stories, and I think that's why we rely so heavily on strong storytellers and filmmakers to come in the space and have a point of view. And then they actually talk about the Taika Waititi Star Wars movie, and Kennedy says, Taika is on Taika's time. All I can tell you is that there's no one like him, and what he's done up to this point is just so unique and so great and really funny. I've just continually said to him, look, when you feel that you're ready and you can really devote the time, we're going to do it. We'll be waiting. And the article says that it sounds like Waititi is at least have some very talented allies on his side. Kennedy reveals a new writer that they brought in. She says the great thing is we brought in a wonderful writer called Tony McNarma, who's done incredible work. He did Poor Things and he did The Great. He has a wonderful sense of humor that really works well with Taika. So we'll see in the development process. You never quite know when you're working on a story and developing a script. You may have all the right intentions and you don't get there. But she goes on to say, I think he has such a unique way in which he tells a story that I'm just hoping we get there. That will be a great Star Wars movie. So it sounds like the Taika Waititi movie is, still in active development. They now have a new writer in it. One thing I will mention is that he and Kathy have both said they kind of have the beginning of the movie and the ending of the movie. They have the first and third act, but it's that middle part that they're trying to work out. The last thing she says is, the article says, and for those who keep asking, Kennedy has one final message. I'm not retired. I'm not going anywhere. Ooh, she's getting a little zesty these days. I like it. I'm just so used to Kathy. I don't know what else to really expect from Lucasfilm anymore. I'm just, I'm not going anywhere. I like that. You let them know, Kathy. So, like usual, Kathy has confirmed so many things that we've been speculating on the last 2 years. And in this article, or in this interview and at this celebration specifically, she confirmed at least 8 different Star Wars movies that are in active development right now at Lucasfilm, and it's all been part of their plan to launch this new era of Star Wars, which I will say, I do feel like that's happening. We're at a kind of turning point where we are entering a new era of Star Wars films, and some of these movies are like, Star Wars Starfighter, Rey's standalone movie. Those all take place after Episode 9, so we are exploring a new era in the canon timeline, and the Simon Kinberg trilogy is apparently also taking place after Episode 9. So it's at least 5 Star Wars movies, the 3 from the trilogy, Rey's movie, and then Star Wars Starfighter, all taking place in this new sequel era. And it's kind of a bold direction, but it makes sense if you're trying to build something new. This is now the non-legacy era of Star Wars, basically, because when they were doing 7, 8, and 9, and Rogue One and Solo, those are all legacy films based off of legacy stuff from George Lucas. This is all based off of their new Star Wars canon, their new version of Star Wars. Well, not new version, but their approach to it, at least. And, she said they're trying to let directors come in and tell their own stories, even if they are standalone and everything. And I think that's the approach they have now, where it's like they just kind of want something to release. They have something coming out in 2026 and 2027 now, and they have 8 movies in development. They're only telling us about 2 of them. It's a little smart to just say, hey, here are the next 2 years. We're not telling you anything that comes after this, because they've had a lot of issues of that, of saying, hey, we're going to have something come out by this point and not, with all these movies in the works. It makes you wonder, like, what order are they even going to come out in? They had 3 movies announced at Celebration in 2023. Those 3 movies have no release dates right now, and we don't even know how they're gonna release the Simon Kinberg trilogy. Is it gonna be an episodic film every 2 years? Are they gonna, label it episodes 1, 2, and 3 for this new saga? Like, how is this going to work? The big part, of course, is Kathy saying that she's not going anywhere at the end of the interview, and that she's not retired, which is a little confusing, because in that interview she did months prior to this, she did say if she leaves Lucasfilm, there would be news about it in like a year or so. So I don't really know what the plan is. She said she's not retiring from filmmaking, but that's not what people were saying. It was like, are you leaving Lucasfilm? And, she does or doesn't. It's not the biggest deal in the world to me, but it's just like, what is the plan here? Because I'll be honest, I think it's a weird time for her to leave. It might be the worst time for Kathy to leave. All these new projects in the works, and I firmly believe she wants to leave with Lucasfilm on like a high note. I think if anything, it would help out a lot if like The Mandalorian and Grogu and Starfighter both did $1 billion in the box office, and then Kathy leaves Lucasfilm. The new Lucasfilm president would have the momentum of like 2 $1 billion box office Star Wars movies. And I did like the fact that Kathy talks about the momentum building right now for Star Wars. Star Wars Celebration should have been an announcement of this new era of Star Wars films, and it wasn't. This definitely had a different feeling in the air of it at Celebration. And instead of a long-term plan, we're getting a short-term plan. We're getting the Mando and Grogu next year in 2026, a couple shows and everything, like Ahsoka Season 2, Maul Shadow Lord, a video game and everything, and that's all next year. But after that, we have no idea. All we know after Mando and Grogu, all we know after 2026 is in 2027, we're getting Star Wars Starfighter. That's it. We have 2 years planned for, Star Wars right now, but yet we have so many movies in the works. I'm pretty confident come 2027, when they do the next Celebration, we're going to get another slate of announcements for the future of Star Wars. Either way, Lucasfilm has made fans a little skeptical over the last 5 years of announcements, with them doubling down on 8 movies in development, but only giving us information on the next 2 years of films. It makes this return to the Star Wars films feel really uncertain. In 2014, we knew that we were going to get episodes 7, 8, 9, with maybe 2 or 3 spin-off films in between. We didn't know what everything would look like, but we knew in 2014 that in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and even 2020, we should be getting Star Wars movies. For 5 years, we knew we'd be getting Star Wars movies. Today, there are 8 Star Wars movies that are confirmed in development, and we really have no clue what the next 5 years of Star Wars will even look like. It's confusing. It's really confusing to be a fan right now, and when Lucasfilm does give us information, it's more or less the same thing of, yes, these are projects that we announced like years ago. They're still coming, don't worry. But no, I don't know when. It's becoming a pattern that's all too familiar for Star Wars fans. That being said, I actually think it's really smart for Lucasfilm to right now only commit to the next 2 years of Star Wars. After Celebration, we have, Andor Season 2, Mando and Grogu next year, some Visions stuff, Maul series, and Ahsoka. Then Star Wars Starfighter. That's it. So 2026 is actually a very interesting and exciting year for Star Wars, but 2027, because we don't know what's going on, there's just only the movie to look forward to. So maybe right now, in this time of uncertainty, Star Wars, it's kind of good to only reveal the stuff that Lucasfilm is certain that is going to happen. There is an undeniable change in the air for Star Wars right now. The winds have changed directions, and Lucasfilm and Star Wars need a captain to steer the ship in the right direction. It may be smart to stay the course right now and then maybe change directions later. But tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think about Kathy's comments in this interview, and where do you see the future of Star Wars after this weekend's news of Star Wars Celebration? Thanks for watching. I'm Star Wars Only. Like if you enjoy this video, subscribe to see where the future of Star Wars goes, and I'll see you all next time, my friends. May the Force be with you, always.